It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Peay.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Richie Schuler, who is a college basketball analyst for ESPN. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It's a little crazy right now. I just got married. I moved, trying to turn this office or this bedroom into an office, and I have a cat on my lap. So I apologize for the wreck behind me.
That's okay. Can you talk about, of course, how you knew that you wanted to become a college basketball analyst?
It's funny you ask. I've always said that, playing is the best thing. Everybody that is involved in sports loves the sport. Usually they played it or they wanted to play it growing up. So the next best thing after playing, because you get too old at some point, is coaching. And after that, the next best thing is doing analyst work, talking about basketball for a living. So, that's kind of the progression I made. I loved the game. I was a player. I coached college basketball for 10 years. And then, after coaching college ball for 10 years, I decided to get into some other things, but I wanted to stay deeply involved in basketball. And, here I am. Well, we're doing analyst work and I haven't lost a game in about 8 years, so I haven't lost any sleep after a game, but I certainly love talking about the game.
Can you talk about, of course, being the host of the Coach Insight on ESPN?
Yeah, actually, it's not on ESPN, but it's something I created that was on YouTube. It was on the website HoopDirt.com. My company, PhDHoops.com. We've used a lot of the interviews on all those platforms, and really what it was, I started it about 5 years ago, and it's been a little while since I've done one. Just the COVID and everything has changed everything, right? But it's essentially what it was an opportunity to let coaches who weren't known become known. Nowadays, there's a lot of people doing exactly what you're doing with Brandon Sports Talk. There's a lot of people doing interviews that have two boxes, my face, your face and another person's face. I feel like I was one of the first people to do that about 5 years ago. And we did that with the Coaches Insight, and it was great. We got a lot of assistant coaches that weren't well known, a lot of small college coaches, a lot of professional coaches. And it was really just 5 to 10 good minutes talking about one specific topic, really letting that coach shine and really brand that coach and help that coach become a little more known. Because as well as I do, unless you're in professional or in Division I, you don't get a lot of media attention. So I really wanted to help those guys who either were in Division I or professional, but they weren't the head coach, get some attention, or those small college coaches, even some high school coaches, get some attention, because there's so many outstanding coaches out there. I wanted to showcase their knowledge and what they knew.
So did you work with a lot of Division II and Division III coaches?
Yeah, a lot of my coaching career, I was in small colleges. I spent 10 years coaching, and one was in Division I, one was in Division III, and then 8 were in Division II. And I was a head coach Division II for 4 of those years. So my network is pretty much all those levels of coaches. And so, yeah, I really wanted to showcase some of those smaller college coaches that hadn't had the opportunity to get out there to be seen. And, using our different websites, HoopDirt was publishing everything. Obviously, that was all over YouTube, and now it's on PhD Hoops website and social media. And it really helped kind of brand those coaches a little bit. And, of course, helped our platforms as well in the process.
That's so amazing. Can you talk about, of course, working with ESPN on being a college basketball analyst?
I love it. It's a lot of fun. I mean, one of the first places people go to watch college basketball games is ESPN. They go there and they want to see who are the teams of the night, who are the matchups. And it was always kind of a dream come true, being an announcer. As a kid, I remember doing, fun things in college when I was playing. I remember pretending like I was an announcer. Never really thought I'd get that opportunity. And years later, here I am and I'm doing it. And the great thing about what ESPN does, they really allow each commentator, whether you're the play-by-play guy or you're the color commentator, the analyst like me, really lets you showcase your personality and kind of have some fun. And ESPN has given me the opportunity to be a goofball, to get in the student sections, to play fun pranks sometimes on air, to, talk about whatever it is in the area that we're in that's popular. Like if it's Utah, Jello is their unofficial food. And so we make little fun bits like that throughout the broadcast, that kind of stuff that we do, as well as letting me get on the floor before the game and directing traffic to maybe our producers and our cameramen, putting them in the positions of how the offense or defense would be to showcase exactly how this team is going to attack a certain defense or how they're going to play offense. They really allow me to do a lot of those different things. And it has been a different year with COVID, though. It has been a different year. I haven't been able to do all those fun things. But I'm hoping that in the future, when we get some more fans in the stands, I can go back to having some more fun with it. But they've treated me really well, and I'm very thankful.
Can you talk about, of course, how COVID has impacted some of those like fun things that you were able to do?
Yeah, I probably every 3 or 4 games, I did something fun in the student sections. Well, now there's no fans in most places you go. So I could go in the student section, but I'll be the only person in there. Before we'd go in there and we'd ask silly questions and do some fun things with the fans in the stands, or we would go crowd surfing, or one time it was superhero night and they lifted me up like I was Superman, and all kinds of silly stuff that we do. When Nevada was really rolling under Eric Musselman, they had the Must Bus student section, and we did all kinds of fun stuff, the wave and just silly things. So we can't do those things anymore. COVID doesn't allow for it. And, we're really, really limited on how much time we can even get close to the floor. So I can't ask a group of managers or crew from the truck to get on the floor with me, and we set up this whole elaborate offense and defense to teach the audience what's going to happen. I can't do that stuff. They really want to keep people away from the floor. Oftentimes, we're not even, with an ESPN broadcast, we're not even on the floor anymore. We're 25 to 100 feet up, way up the top of the stand. Sometimes you need binoculars almost. But that's just for safety. They don't want us near fans. Of course, most arenas don't have fans, but they certainly don't want us anywhere near the players or staff, which is for me unfortunate, because I love chatting it up with the coaches. I'm friends with a lot of those coaches, and I can't do that before the games a lot of times. So it's a little bit of a different feel this year for sure.
Can you talk about, of course, your time working with Fox Sports?
Yeah, that's something new for me. This is the first time this year was the first time I've had an opportunity to work with Fox Sports, particularly on FS1. It's hard for me to get a complete feel for it. I mean, they're extremely professional. They do a phenomenal job. They put on a great show. But again, with COVID, a lot of the things that I normally do as a color commentator, I can't do before games, middle of the game. But man, they run a great show. They have fantastic producers, announcers, directors. Obviously, they're a terrific network, and we have some great broadcasts. The games I've been working with Fox this season have been on the Mountain West League, Mountain West Conference, and for me, which has been a lot of fun because I've been covering them through ESPN for the last 4 years, and it's just a outstanding conference. And this year they're looking at 3 or 4 teams going to the big dance, so it's always exciting to be a part of those games.
That's wonderful. Can you talk about, of course, what the day-to-day role is like as a college basketball analyst?
It starts probably the week before. I'll make it specific to the day of, but just leading up to it. For example, yesterday I found out I have a game on Saturday. I don't know when you're going to air this, but I found out about a week in advance, about 6 days in advance, that I have a game. What that means is now I got to start preparing for those 2 teams that I have. It's going to be a Big West matchup of CSUN, which used to be Cal State Northridge, in Hawaii. 2 teams I haven't had this year. I know a lot about them. I've been covering them for years, but not this year's team. So now I'm starting to prepare, getting the rosters, looking at the bios, getting my notes together, the schedules. We're going to have coaches interviews throughout the course of the week. But the day of the game, in a typical year without COVID, you wake up early, you get to the gym, you are going to go watch each team practice, their shoot-around practice. This year we can't do that, but you go and watch their shoot-arounds, their walkthrough practices, whatever you call them. They usually last anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer. So now you're really being trusted by the coaching staff to know what their game plan is going to be. So if the coaches don't trust you, you don't have a chance to walk in that gym because they're afraid you're going to tell the opponents or you're going to say something on air you shouldn't. But for me, it's extremely beneficial. By that time, when I've showed up to practices the day of the game, I already have my game boards, exactly what I'm going to use as a cheat sheet. My form telling information on every single player, maybe some background stories, something that's interesting to the audience, tidbits on each team, offenses and defenses and that kind of thing, the coaching staff. So you really got a great feel for the whole program. But now I'm getting to see in this practice how they're going to guard a particular player on the other team. How are they going to attack a particular defense that's coming from the other team? And I'm going to see that from both sides. And of course, the coaches are going to say, hey, is so-and-so going to play? He's been injured the last couple of games. And I'm going to be like, can't tell you anything, my man. I can't breach that trust, but they're going to try for sure. So you watch back-to-back practices. If you're on the road, you got to run back to your hotel, get cleaned up, look all sharp with your suit and tie, and then show up to the arena about 2 hours before the game. And those 2 hours before the game, you're getting all your communication fixed. You're going through the graphics. You're talking to your producers and your partner, what exactly you're going to do, what you're going to talk about during the game and so on and so forth. And then you'll go through the open. Sometimes you'll record the open and sometimes it'll be live, but you'll at least do a rehearsal if you don't record it. So it's a full day, man. I mean, you're exhausted. When that game's over, sometimes it's 9, 10 at night. Sometimes it's midnight, depending on where you're playing and what time. You are exhausted. And oftentimes you're just ready to pass out as soon as you get back to the hotel.
Of course, how does they know what teams you cover? So like, let's say, for example, you might be over here in North Carolina one weekend covering like UNC or Duke game. And then let's say you're maybe at Georgia next week or Saturday. How does that work?
It really is depending on the network. For example, Fox uses me for the Mountain West Conference. The ESPN used to use me for the Mountain West, but they don't do the Mountain West anymore. Fox does. So now ESPN is using me for WCC games, the West Coast Conference, Big West Conference, and this year a little bit of Pac-12. So it really depends. A lot of times it's geographical. Are you close to where you live? Now, some of those announcers like the Jay Billises of the world and those kind of guys, they'll go anywhere and everywhere there's a hot game. That's where the network wants them. But for most of us, it's regional. Kind of the area that you live in, what are the leagues near where you live? And that's kind of where they're going to keep you most of the time. And that's how it works with me. So every network kind of chooses you for the league they want you in, and then you just kind of keep rolling with it. And that's important, I think, because, I've been doing the Mountain West for 5 years. I've been doing the Big West for 8 years, the WCC for 4 or 5 years as well, maybe 6 or 7 years. Can't remember. And so you really start to know the league, the coaches, the style of play. That's important. So it comes across on a broadcast that the average viewer watching really gets a feel for what's going on inside the arena and what this program and team is all about.
Can you talk about, of course, how many typical times you might run into famous people like Jay Billis, who goes all around the world?
It's rare. People ask me all the time, like, do you know so-and-so? No, there's a lot of people that work for ESPN. Do you bump into these guys? No, here's the reason why. Jay Billis and I have the exact same role. We're a college basketball analyst. When you watch a broadcast, usually there's 2 announcers, play-by-play guy, analysts, right? So it could be a male or female, either one, play-by-play and analyst. So they're usually going to team up a play-by-play person with an analyst. Jay Billis is an analyst. Bill Walton's an analyst. These big names, they're analysts. I'm an analyst too. I'm just not as big a name. So we'll work with a lot of the same play-by-play guys or females. I worked with my first play-by-play female a few weeks ago. It was awesome. They had a lot of fun, Jenny Kavanaugh. But we have the same roles. So we're often working with the same play-by-play people, but we never work with each other. So I rarely ever bump into them. If I do, it's like maybe at the Final Four conventions or something like that. I rarely get a chance to ever meet them, talk to them, even get to know them. So it is kind of funny like that.
What is something that you learned now that you didn't know before starting being a college basketball analyst?
I think I always knew that it was going to be a ton of prep work, being an analyst. I think more for me, it was the challenge of learning how to do television. Radio is much simpler for me as an analyst. You put on the headset and you can see everything. There's nobody talking in your ear like a producer or anything in most cases, sometimes, but not in most cases. And you just go. The play-by-play guy does most of the talking. I'm filling in with a little bit of the color, right? He's the eyes and ears, and I'm always explaining why and trying to really get a few words here and there. But you don't have much time to talk in radio because the play-by-play person is the one who's doing most of the talking. In TV now, it's a whole nother ballgame. So I had to adjust to TV. I had done some radio in the past. I had to adjust to television. There's a video screen. Everybody in the world can see what's going on. The play-by-play person doesn't have to talk as much. I get to talk more. I get to explain why all that stuff the viewers are seeing is happening. And so now you have to get used to, in your ear, there's a producer saying, all right, here comes a replay. Here comes a replay. Hey, Richie, can I ask you something real quick? And I'm like, I can't really talk back, but yeah, go ahead and speak. There is a button where you can talk back, but it's hard when you're trying to process something as you are also speaking. So that's the challenges it creates. But it took some getting used to. Now it's like riding a bike, man. You're just used to it now.
Can you talk about, of course, with COVID, how important is it for analysts to be the eyes and ears of the fans, where sometimes the fans aren't there and seeing the game, or they might not be even on watching it on TV. So you might be their ears for the game.
Yeah, in radio, that's huge. You have to create a vision to their mind. On TV, they can all see it. So my most important job as an analyst is to explain the answer why. And that's what I would tell anybody who is interested in being an analyst. Explain the answer why. Why did that happen? Why did the coach make that decision? Why did they go to this defense? Why did that player do this or that? Why? Or how? Why and how are the two most important things I have to explain. My goal after every game or during every game, when the game is finished, though, I want to look back and I want to say, what are two things I accomplished? One, did I teach the viewer something about basketball? Did I give them some nugget that maybe they didn't understand before, that I put in very simple terms for the average couch potato drinking a beer, watching the game, maybe didn't understand before? If I did that, then I had success. Also, did I provide some source of entertainment for them? Did we make them giggle one time? Did we make it worthwhile for them to tune into that game and watch 5 minutes of it or for 2 hours? Was it worthwhile during that small period of time? If I did those two things, I feel like we had a fantastic broadcast. That's really what it's all about. It's entertainment at the end of the day, right?
What advice would you give upcoming future college basketball analysts looking to get into the profession?
Answer those questions, why and how. That's your main job as an analyst. Explain to the viewers why this happened or how this happened, because most viewers don't understand. Most viewers don't understand the sport the way that we might. But I also would say having a little bit of coaching experience as an analyst, I think goes a long way. A player can be an analyst. It happens all the time, former player. But I really feel like those who were coaches in the past might have a different viewpoint on how the game's played, or a different viewpoint on why a coach is making a decision. My job, and I would tell an analyst this: don't bury the referees, don't bury the coaches, certainly don't bury the players, don't make them look bad. There's enough negativity in the world. Let's uplift people. And I hear sometimes people just ripping these coaches. I can't believe they made this decision. It's all over Twitter, right? Like Twitter's a war zone half the time. But even analysts on TV will sometimes rip a coach for a decision. I'm like, we're watching a 40-minute game. These guys are with each other every day, almost year round. So obviously he knows his players. He knows what things work better for his team better than we do. So let's respect his decision, and we can ask him why later. But I just don't feel like we should be ripping coaches, just because we don't agree with their decision. You know what I mean? We don't know enough information when it's all said and done.
That's wonderful advice. Where can my listeners find you on social media?
Yeah, so it's my name at Richie Schuler on Twitter, RICHIE, and then my last name, SCHUELER. You can also find that on Facebook. I have a professional page where I post all basketball commentator type stuff, coaching stuff. On Instagram, I like to have a little fun on Instagram. I go by Rick Schu, Rick, RICK_SHUE. And it's a lot of basketball stuff, but we like to have a little more fun on Instagram. Not so serious.
Thank you again, Ricky, for your interview, and best of luck in this upcoming season as a college basketball analyst. And look forward to hearing more of your games. You can find Brandon Sports Talk
Glad to
on.
be a part of it. Keep doing your thing, man. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Ricky, for your interview, and best of luck.
Yeah, you too.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.